To what extent the cruelty of this world can go, we are living in a world where even animals are not safe. So how can we think that a mentally ill girl can stay safe in this world of monsters? What happens when 6 guys torture and ruin a mentally unstable girl? What was her mistake that threw her down the hills? How does it feel when your friends who were supposed to save you betrayed you in the worst way? What happens when your childhood monsters haunt you in adulthood too? And what horror the girl faced when her mind didn't support her. Who were these 6 guys, and what they did to her? Were they caught or not? We will not know unless we get inside the video and firstly understand her childhood nightmare. This is the case of Jennifer Lee Daugherty. Jennifer Lee Daugherty, 36, was born November 8, 1979 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, to Denise and Richard Daugherty. Jennifer's life was always marked by love and challenges from an early age. Her parents did divorce and her mother Denise remarried Bobby Murphy, a resident of Mount Pleasant. Despite the hitches she went through, Jennifer's resilience glammed through. Jennifer was raised just an hour southeast of Pittsburgh after her father moved after the divorce. Joy and Jamie, a stepbrother named Dave, made up her family in the close-knit lineage. However, despite the loving environment her family tried and succeeded to create, she did not have easy travel. It was obvious that Jennifer had some kind of developmental disability from the moment she learned to talk. She never formally was diagnosed, but it was obvious that she struggled with social cues and judgment. The breakdown of these challenges in her life proved her to be a perfect target on the part of bullies, and throughout her life she really suffered from her peers. She was physically and emotionally abused at school, even having gum mashed into her hair. She'd come home in tears, telling her mother how she wanted to be a normal girl. Warm, trusting yet vulnerable Jennifer was loved by some and a target for others. She'd forgive quickly, making excuses that bad days made people behave cruelly. Of course, Jennifer's kindness didn't know any bounds. Despite the bullying, she never gave up on people, even when it wasn't easy. Jennifer's mother, Denise said, described her child as someone who loved life and made everyone happy. She liked to sing and dance, played with her nieces and nephews, tinkered with cars with her uncle. Jennifer wanted to go down as a mechanic to follow in her uncle's footsteps. Jennifer's favorite foods were lasagna and cheesecake. Her own indulgences were scary movies, college football, and wrestling. Her dreams were simple yet profound, and so they can live a life without any help, get a job, marry, and have a family. All went according to a child like that of Jennifer, and how she approached life with sparkling optics of optimism, as if she had every reason to be optimistic, as if she lived in paradise. By 2010, Jennifer, then age 30, was actually working toward her goals. She wanted to live on her own. So she took a living skills class at the West Place Clubhouse in Greensburg, a local community center. It was a supportive clubhouse that aimed at giving people with mental illness opportunities in housing, work, education, and health initiatives. To go to classes, visit her dentist, or go to counseling, Jennifer often made the 20-minute bus trip from Mount Pleasant to Greensburg. Jennifer's dream was taking shape at the clubhouse to become a mechanic. The sense of community and support she found there, and her family wholeheartedly stood behind her in her efforts to find confidence and self-reliance. Jennifer, however, was developmentally disabled, and she emotionally functioned at a 14-year-old level. Though it was endearing, her innocence and trusting nature made her also very vulnerable to exploitation. Her family, with a focus on her mother and sisters, were fiercely protective, in a never-ending effort to keep her out of danger. When Jennifer met a new group of friends at the West Place Clubhouse, her life started to change. The thought excited her to add to her social circle, and her family were cautious but supportive of her efforts to make friends and create confidence. The people Jennifer befriended turned out to be all wrong. Unfortunately, that group was made up of Angela Marinucci, Ricky Smyrns, Amber Madinger, Melvin Knight, Peggy Miller, and Robert Masters Jr. There wasn't a life of peace or positive influences Jennifer's family had envisioned in their lives, and they were from troubled, turbulent pasts. The first one to interact with Jennifer was born on July 14, 1992. A girl named Angela Marinucci. At just that age difference and the varying personalities of the two, they developed a quick bond, often speaking for hours on the phone. At the age of 15, she had suffered a traumatic brain injury when being hit by a truck. In fact, her behavior had changed quite a lot after this incident, and she was acting impulsively, Sometimes she would have outbursts and she did not have the empathy for other people anymore. Jennifer met the rest of the group through Angela. Smyrns was born on March 6, 1986, and had a heck of a childhood. Ricky was dumped at birth and kicked through foster homes with PTSD and multiple psychiatric disorders. Early in his criminal history, he was violent and abused. Ricky was an ex-con, but he was also the de facto leader of the group. Another central pair in this group was Amber Madinger and Melvin Knight. They were at a homeless shelter, and Amber, born October 27, 1989. Melvin had a head injury as a child and suffered also from learning and social problems. Before settling in Greensburg, the couple had moved a great deal. Amber and Melvin had a rocky relationship and found someplace to live at Ricky's apartment on North Pennsylvania Avenue. Now, as Jennifer spent more time with her new friends, she thought she had found her kindred spirits who knew just how difficult her life was. To her, they were people she'd seen who dealt with hardships, wrought their way through life like she had been doing. Jennifer didn't know, however, that someday her kindness and trust would be used against her. Ricky was dating Angela, who became jealous of Jean, who had a seeming interest in her. Her ears pricked when she overheard graduate student Ricky flirting with Jennifer, and she began to suspect that they were on to something. Later, Ricky admitted to feeling he loved Jennifer too. Angela saw Jennifer as a threat whether or not Jennifer reciprocated these feelings. On February 10, 2010, Angela's thought came to lure Jennifer into a trap. Jennifer invites her to sleep over at Ricky's house, his flat. Jennifer was already excited about spending time with her new friends, so she agreed to it. She did not want her parents to know she was actually going to a man's apartment, so she told her parents she'd be staying at Peggy Miller's apartment. They were proud of her growing independence and supported her decision. Jennifer did not know this would be a normal, fun gathering. Jealousy and desire for control encouraged Angela and the group to conspire against her, the nightmare and murder. When the events started on February 8, 2010, Jennifer was invited to an apartment shared with Ricky Smyrns, Angela Marinucci, Melvin Knight, Peggy Miller, Amber Meidinger, and Robert Masters. The 6 people appeared to themselves as her friends. She didn't hesitate to accept the invitation to connect Jennifer. She wanted to connect with people. She did not know too little that the people she thought were her among the allies, but were actually harboring sinister intentions. As soon as she arrived, Jennifer was the victim of mockery and aggression. They tortured her with their so-called friends, taunting her and leaving her confused and frightened. She rummaged through their purse, making herself empty of money, gift cards, and her cell phone. Then they destroyed her belongings by stopping them with water and removing their dignity and control from her. What followed was a 36-hour nightmare of abuse and torture. Members of the group took turns subjecting Jennifer to brutal physical assaults. She was beaten with objects ranging from a towel bar and crutches to a vacuum cleaner hose and a 2-liter soda bottle filled with liquid. As if the physical pain wasn't enough, the group forced her to ingest a mixture of horrifying substances, including vegetable oil, laundry detergent, urine, nail polish, and even feces. Jennifer's cries of mercy were ignored. However, she never stopped pleading, and she continued to suffer. She was bound with Christmas lights, not allowing her to fight back, then further humiliated, shaving her head, painting her face with nail polish, degrading her in ways that defy understanding, were her attackers. Melvin Knight then sexually assaulted her, watching the others laugh at her. Jennifer would only endure, as her humanity was wrenched away piece by piece, as she could do nothing against the monster willfully righting itself every time. By February 10th, the group had decided that Jennifer couldn't survive for the morning. They unanimously agreed her life had to be taken because she would tell the authorities about their actions, and they were fearful that she would. They forced her to write a note that she committed suicide, so it would look like a suicide. The note, written in cursive, read, "I've not been happy in a really long time, and I think everybody will be better off without me on this earth. I love my mom and stepdad no matter what, and I love the rest of my family too. I would be lucky to have anywhere near as great an aunt as they would. I am done with life." The note was unnecessary. The decision to kill Jennifer wasn't in her own control. It was the result of the cruelty of those around her. Melvin Knight first flagged her down, then gave her a combination of sleeping pills and antibiotics before stabbing repeatedly in the chest. When she miraculously survived the initial attack, he grabbed the knife and slit her wrists, but she still had life left in her. They strangled Jennifer with the very Christmas lights that they had used to bind her. Before it was over, they dressed her corpse up like a Christmas tree. According to the complaint, Angela Marinucci got so irritated that the lights refused to blink, and the group agreed to get rid of the body. Jennifer was stuffed into a trash can and left underneath a truck in the snow-covered parking lot of Greensburg-Salem Middle School. A truck driver came across the spot where the bloody event occurred when noticing the trash can in an odd place. After poking his head around, he saw that Jennifer's body was inside. The discovery was shocking, but in a horrible twist of fate, it was lucky for the diggers to have been adults rather than a child, because they found it. Shortly thereafter, the perpetrators were quickly identified by the subsequent investigation, but those would become collectively known as the Greensburg Six, and the group members began confessing to their roles in the crime by then and were arrested. Each one testified as though it described the last hours of Jennifer's life. Trial 1 of the perpetrators, Amber, faced the possibility of the death penalty, but she escaped this by testifying against the others involved. But Amber's role in the tragedy meant she was sentenced to serve time in the State Correctional Institution Muncie. She is up for early termination of her sentence in November 2019, but sparked mixed reaction receiving her plea, with Jennifer's family vehemently opposed to any leniency. Robert Masters and Peggy Miller were charged for failing to act before Jennifer's torment. Whilst they did not directly harm Jennifer, the evidence showed that they were involved in meetings to have decided her destiny. Jennifer's pleas for help, which went unanswered by Robert and Peggy, underscored their moral complicity. He said he was paralyzed with fear and was sorry, saying, "I should have done something, but I didn't, because I was scared." However, like Peggy, she tearfully confessed her guilt. But Jennifer's family was not convinced. The pair failed to act directly, the pair argued, and that helped lead to Jennifer's death. "Peggy," that's what she said. Her sister Joy poignantly addressed Peggy, pulling away a few parting strands from her face, saying, "You had my sister for a friend. You didn't value her." Peggy was sentenced for 35 to 74 years in prison, Robert 30 to 70 years. They both remain behind bars, and to think of Jennifer's death. The youngest of the group, Angela, played a big part in murdering Jennifer. Angela had planned the crime days in advance, and even on the day she told witnesses she was disappointed by the stuff they used to tie Jennifer. Angela, according to a former cellmate, seemed to be disturbed by the attention her crime attracted, being excited to be on the news. He said, Angela was first sentenced to life in prison without parole, but legal changes on sentencing juveniles had her sentence decreased to 60 years to life, with parole in 2070, she said. Jennifer's family was divided over her revised sentence, as they all said justice would never truly be served for what Jennifer suffered. Post-loss, Jennifer's family struggled to find closure. Closure would be having Jennifer come back to us, and that's not possible. Her stepfather, Bobby Murphy, said, "There's no closure." Sadly, Joy, Jennifer's sister, said this was an exploitation of Jennifer. She was kind, and she was handicapped, and she was vulnerable. "I would have loved to be able to go to the past and protect her. Over 30 hours, 6 people could have helped my sister, but none did," said Jennifer's sister, Joy. "Legally, they didn't have to. This law will save lives." If you learned something from this video, don't forget to subscribe and comment.